Morning to the Rise and Shine Saturday morning practice. Today we are in session number 56 and number, I think it is 36 of our victim series. And today's a really special class because we're going to be talking about how do you turn and face into the somatic experience of whatever is really big in your life. A lot of times we are going to have experiences happening. Maybe I feel victimized by, or I feel justified by something, or overwhelmed by something. And the experience somatically comes in like a big fireball, and all of a sudden you're frantically like going through this whole stage of things that you have done your whole life because we are wired a particular way. We're going to reenact a very specific behavioral pattern over and over and over again until we slow it down enough to be able to be with the somatic of it, so that that aliveness that feels like a comet coming in can move in a different direction rather than in the direction that has been familiar. And the somatic work that we do is essentially we're coming into the ways that these fireballs evoke us and take us in one direction, and we are helping them move into an organic, different direction that moves us more towards wholeness and connection and communication and depth. And so we're going to sit with that today. And also we have a live practice that we're doing here at the house. It's a retreat for today that we're going to be focusing on this as well. How do we sit with that overwhelm and work with the mechanics of our somatics? But we're going to do a little taste of it here this morning in class. So let's go ahead and take a moment. We're still staying with this victim series, and we want to be able to notice how we are connected to and supported by the place that we are seated. Go ahead and pause and take a moment to notice how you are held by your seat. And as you notice how you are held by your seat, we want to take a moment to recognize which part of your body feels the most held by your seat. And then the quality of support feels like what? And we're taking a moment to receive that quality of support. And then from that place, we're sitting with this. We're sitting with this somatic of how do we react unconsciously when we have a big experience come up. Which direction does it take us very quickly, and how do we sit with that so that we can actually sit with the somatic of letting the somatic move in a different direction. So you want to find, where am I having a big reaction to something that is alive? And you want to notice that reaction, and you want to be able to name it. How am I doing this? I'll give you an example. Like last night, sometimes when I get to the end of the week and I have a whole bunch of clients and I have getting landed and situated for the weekend, and I have all these different things, that Fridays are a very, very, very dense day. When it gets to the end of the evening, I don't want to even do the evening practice. Like, it is something that I usually, I'm like, oh, like I get more collapsing around. I want to not be in relationship with it. I want to not face into it. And last night was one of the first times where I just, instead of trying to fight that, I just name it and I stay in relationship with it, and I faced into it and I name it in class. And instead of trying to run around and do whatever else I would do, or just collapse and give up, like do class, collapse quickly and give up, like I was able to actually take the actions after and care for myself in the way that I normally would on a good night, because I was able to turn to it, face it, be still, and say, this is me really, really, really resistant. This is me really not wanting to do this. And the power that's beneath that behavior, because what happens is we can go into that behavior and we can shoot off into shame, guilt, pride, whatever the other things are. And instead of shooting over into that, I don't want my somatic aliveness to be fueling that. I want it to be able to come in and let that resistance take me in a different direction. Now, the amazing thing is, this morning when I woke up, my Aura ring says your readiness score is 10 points higher than you have been in the last month. So it is truly the power of that resistance when I am able to face it and not follow into my dramatics and not follow into my limitations where I normally would go. The power of that will drive and reshape my system in a completely different direction. So we're looking for the intensity of those somatics. We want to be able to slow down each moment enough where we stay in relationship with the moment, where we're naming what is going on, and I'm slowing down enough to where it can reform me. It can rechange me, and it's going to change me organically, behaviorally. I'm going to have a whole bunch of different capacities and behaviors come out of this because I'm able to stay with the somatics rather than follow my dramatics. And that is it's really hard because we are wired by our world to follow the dramatics. We're wired that way. And that keeps us very limited and disconnected and frazzled and unorganized and in chaos and in stress. And it just keeps us up out of being able to truly receive what is here for us. And so, and we also have to come out of that shame and blame, because last night it's like, I'm doing the practice, I can hold the practice and I can say the words, but that does not mean I'm actually doing it. It does not mean I'm actually receiving it. I did the whole practice last night and I did not do the practice. I was just doing the words until I got to the end and was able to say, look, this is what is truly happening. This is what I'm truly feeling. I'm skimming above this. I'm hovering way above this. And until I can actually name it and be present with it, bring it into the room and be present with it and stay with it, it's not going to change. And then as soon as I did that, it completely changed the whole thing. And so when you're looking, as we're looking through this lens of this reconciling victimization series, you want to be able to find these places in yourself that are very familiar, the places where you react. Now, depending on your nervous system, you will either react in big collapse or in big, big fight, persecution, shame, whatever that is, big guilt, or in big avoidance. You're going to go in, maybe it might be a couple little sneaky combo of that, but whatever combination it is of that for whatever circumstance you're facing, you want to be able to come to that. And we're going to look at the somatics. We're going to go to the somatics beneath it. So it's like, I'm going to ride this comet. I'm going to help the comet change the direction in which it goes. And so when you're looking at, think of a reaction that you are currently having or that you've had maybe within the last week. What is a reaction that you feel, I wish I could be with that in a different way. I wish I could begin to change that. Let's take a moment and write that down. So let's take a moment. You guys don't have to tell me what it is, but just let me know that you have it, and then we'll keep going along with this.
I've got it. Got it.
Okay, so we want to notice we're going to have, most likely, our brain is going to have a pretty strong paragraph of a story. This is like the brain is going to be a blah, 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 blah. So we want to be able to see if I hold that down and I want to turn that story into slow motion. I want to set that dial super, super, super slow. So I still want to see what comes up, because what the brain is going to be talking about is what I have actually participated in living out my entire life. However many years you are past 18 years old, that's how many years you have been participating in continually repeating this pattern. Once we get out of our parents' houses, like, it's us that is choosing to do this pattern over and over and over and over and over again. So we want to be able to see, this is my brain, and put on here next to the mind, put 18. How many years after 18? How many years after that have I done this pattern? So for me, I'm turning 50 this year. So 32 years I have participated in redoing this. That is my choice. My choice. I have participated in letting my response to this circumstance keep unfolding this way. So notice your years, and the reason why it's important is not to shame you, but it's to see how well worn is that path. So the more well worn the path, the more I'm used to doing it, the stronger the reactivity is, the more potential for change there is. This is not about shame and blame or whatever. This is about the mechanics of this. And this is about the power of my choice, the power of my accountability. So I'm looking at, I put next to my mind sees and thinks about this challenge today, I'm putting down there 32 years. How many years past 18 years old have you been doing this? And then how does your mind see it? How does your mind see it? Hmm. And if you take a moment and you look at that, and you can look back at your life and you can see all these decisions, all these relationships that you have gone through. And in this very particular way, this is how you've shown up. And that has limited, that's limited. You've recreated this over and over and over again. And there has to be a choice point where we're saying, I'm wanting to do this differently. I'm wanting to do this differently. So I can see in the past my role, my connection in how I have been. And that is because my nervous system is wired to do this. My nervous system is wired this way. And I'm going to slow that down today so that I can help make the space for the divine to reform that pathway. So you're noticing the price that you've paid in this as you really look back at it. See if you can feel what it feels like in your brain when you're coming from that mindset. It can sometimes be challenging to feel the somatics of the brain, meaning the sensations that happen in the brain, because we're more connected to how our brain thinks and what it sees versus how it actually feels. So if you can take a moment and actually feel what is it like to feel this perspective, to feel this pathway, the way that you are seeing it. To me, as I see it, I can feel some like chaos around, but I feel it like a straight line going through it, and it's very hard, and it excludes a lot around me because it's very, I feel it very stuck to my idea, my process. See if you guys can sense this, because this is, we want to notice, yes, how do I see it? How has it been? But I want to notice, what does that feel like in my brain? Let's take a moment and let's share that. Just the somatics. We're not talking about the circumstance. We're not talking about all the other stuff. We're just naming the somatic feeling in the brain. What do you guys notice? this one might take a little bit, so just take your time, but let's share it so that we can start here, because as soon as we start and we start getting the somatics of each of these, it starts to change how it flows.
It feels very hard and rigid, and it feels like it's encapsulated in a steel enclosure, and there's no way out.
Perfect. So like, and like when you think about that, so like for whatever way, I mean, it might be even, you might even be able to sense like it's going this way, or it's going this way, or this way, or this way. Like you might even be able to feel the direction of the pathway it's trying to go in. But you can see how many layers in your description, how many layers of intensity and repetition it has used to build that pathway. So there's a lot of potential power there. So if we think of this construct of how it actually feels and the construct of it, like think of all those materials, all of that intensity, all of that hardness, all of that experience of being trapped, all of that is going to deconstruct itself and move in a different direction. So there's all this available raw resource, and I'm not the one who's going to deconstruct that and move it. The aliveness itself, when it is able to be acknowledged and held by the power and the mystery of what the Holy Spirit is giving you, that is the thing. What is your quality of support? What was that this morning when we started?
Caring, caring and non-judgmental.
So notice how it's like that, you can't make up the miracle of how those two are such a beautiful, beautiful and gentle pair, right? So it's like that's what the divine is already forgiven you, already provided you before we even come and sit in this position to begin to look at this. And we think this thing is so big, it's going to take us all this time to unwind it. And it's like, it's not. It just requires us sitting down and like taking a moment to see the density of the construct that we have used because we are trying to protect ourselves. And we all have it. And we all have these constructs connected to very specific themes and experiences in our lives. And then we identify with it. Like we think it's who we are rather than this is how I have survived. But that doesn't mean that I'm thriving. That doesn't mean that I'm rested and whole and connected to my purpose. It means this is how I just keep doing it. And there's a lot of power there. But what happens is it gets more and more and more and more dense every time I keep living in that pathway and am not coming to the somatics of it. We can feel when we sit down and we're looking at this, we can feel how much aliveness is there, but it's frantic. It's not settled. It's not powerful in a way that is sustainable to our heart, to our brain, to our experience of peace. And so feeling this construct and naming it, go ahead. Do you have something more you want to say?
Well, my brain is screaming, I can't let go of this, or I won't make it.
Yeah, and that's fine.
I won't make it.
Yeah, and that's fine. So that's like, you can see how this is the languaging that's coming from, okay? But there's also when the emotion is coming with that, when you look at your emotional sensory core and you're sitting with this and you start feeling how the emotions are coming too, as soon as that big emotion's coming in, the thing is already starting to move. Because it is the emotion and the sensation that comes with those that is actually beginning to change that construct. And that is scary for our brain. And notice how you are held by the place where you are seated, and notice how you are held by this group. And put your hand on this awareness in the brain and also this new opening. At the same time that you can feel that construct, see if you can also feel, where is the new opening? I feel warmth. I feel warmth when I place my hands over it. I feel warmth go over my whole, the mechanics of my brain. I can still feel the construct, but I feel a warmth and a power that's more able to envelop the whole thing and not overpower it, just there with it. And then we go back to how we are connected to the place where we are seated. Other participant who's here with us live, can you feel some quality of construct? It may be, if we're somebody who has a more collapsy, avoidant, overwhelmed nervous system too, that's gonna, it might be a falling back, it might be a disappearing. So it can be different for everybody. It might be a place where there's a hiding, it might be a bulldozing over, it might be, so like you want to kind of see which way does it go.
I got a little lost in there somewhere, and I'm still trying to pick it back up.
Mm-hmm. So notice if the lost feels like, are you dissipated in the loss? Are you hiding somewhere in the loss? Because there's like, I just went dispersion, I went blank, I went back. Like, can you feel what direction you went to in your system?
I think I started to get lost in it, and then I started to like give up on it.
Mm-hmm. So this is great, you guys. This is so powerful, because whatever way, so you got lost, but take a moment and see, where are you when you're lost? You got lost and then you want to give up. So that's the second frame. What's happening is, the longer that we look at the thing, first it's like a Polaroid. It's like, I can just see a couple lines, I can't really see detail. And the longer I sit with that Polaroid, the more it presents itself. But we don't sit there long enough because we have so much shame and guilt and frustration about ourselves to actually let it develop, to see what's happening there. So notice, you get lost, but where are you when you're lost? Because we are right here with you and you are right here with us. Where do you go when you get the experience of being lost? See if you can sense around your body, how far in the room do you go?
I guess I'm feeling lost with it right now because I'm not quite. It's not landing. It's hard for me to grasp the concepts right now.
Yeah, well, we're not leaving you, because it's the biggest lie. It's the biggest lie that you're, not that you feel that way, but I'm saying that something is wrong with your system because you are feeling that way. This is a place that you go in your nervous system. And this place has protective qualities to it that help your brain to not have to see what is happening. So there's a place that you go, and those protective qualities will kick in. What happens is, across the board in your nervous system, that was used to protect you when you've had moments in your life that have been harmful to you. That has been a place where you've gone that protected you. But what happens is that gets overcoupled. It gets connected to anytime the body feels an intensity. Anytime I'm connected to an experience that's intense, well, this experience this morning is intense and it's connected to you healing, to you growing, but the somatics of that intensity feel the same as if you are in an experience that is threatening.
So it's collapse then, because it's like usually if my intensity gets to a certain place, then I start to just like collapse with it. I get sleepy,
Right.
like to an
Okay.
uncontrollable level.
So say it again, sleepy. So you collapse, you want to give up, you get sleepy. Notice how these things are protective. They are taking something that is highly intense and they're dampening that intensity. And what we're talking about when we bring it into the somatics, the mechanics of somatics, it is any intensity and it is across the board. So as soon as your system gets up to an intensity, it can be excitement, it can be a deeper connection in a relationship, it could be learning, it could be you working towards like something in your life that's amazing. And then what's going to happen is it's going to trip that intensity level and it's going to take you into this place. It's going to take you into the way that you are routed here. And then what happens is you're like, I did it again. I collapsed again. I lost connection to the moment again. And it's we identify with that versus saying, look, it just, my intensity came up and it spills over into this place and it makes me want to give up. It makes me want to collapse. It makes me sleepy. Notice what happens when we are articulating each of those. And the longer that you sit with it, the more familiar it is. And you can like stand conscious in the middle of that wiring and be like, wait a second, this is familiar and this has been to try to protect me. And I want to have a conscious choice to utilize this pathway when I need it, when something is feeling like too much and I can be here and rest in this. Or I want to be able to say, no, right now I'm learning and this intensity is exciting and I'm learning and I don't need to be ashamed. And so it's a different quality of intensity that I'm in right now. Notice what happens inside, even as we're just talking about that.
I'm getting so nauseous thinking about this and talking about it. Like
Right.
I can feel it.
So the nausea is we are moving further down the emotional sensory core. Because most times you probably will just be collapsed, sleeping. It won't even touch the lower parts of your emotional sensory core. So watch what happens. What is your quality of support today? What was your quality of support that you started with?
I'm trying to find it.
Take your time. Like, slowness is your power. So watch what happens when you just say that. I'm going to take a minute to locate that. Slowness is my power. And I can drop into slowness and I can come out of slowness. This is my world I'm living in. This is my life. Slowness is my power. There's nothing wrong with slowing it down. And everybody who's on the replay, go back to how you are held, because right now we have two different nervous systems, two different pathways. We have one that's more of a reactive, possibly fight, flight, and then another nervous system that is possibly collapse, right? So these are two primary big categories of how our nervous system goes. We are all going to have both. We're not only one pathway. We all have all these pathways, because these are the different ways the nervous system is made to function to protect us. But what happens is that protection turns into limitation because it's just across the board and we're unconscious about it. And then we identify with it, which really ingrains it even further. So if we take a moment and stop believing that and come back into the mechanics of this and watch how the somatics are going to move it, we reclaim ourselves and we slow it down and we just start to actually look at this pathway that I travel. And I've traveled this 10 billion times unconsciously. And as I slow it down, it begins to change it. It breaks down the walls of it. And it reuses the aliveness that was holding those walls in place for being able to hold me in a state of more wholeness. Even though we're still in the middle of the reconstruction of this right now this morning, for both participants, notice the difference in how you feel right now compared to when we started. What do you guys notice?
The main difference is there's feeling there now, where it was blocked before.
Yeah, starting to feel. And that feeling provides space for other options, for other things to happen. Rather than, this is just my go-to, like right off the chute, it's like, it like takes me off into this direction. It provides some space to actually be noticing this is happening again.
You know, so my knee-jerk reaction was shut it all out. You got to let go of all of those feelings about it in order to think what to do.
Right.
So I just limited myself to, wow, without knowing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And what it does is it isolates you. It like keeps you separate from everything. Because in the same way for the other participant that's sharing, it's like, it's more about as intensity, the aliveness, the somatics of change comes in. The somatics of change feels like a comet fireball, no matter who we are, no matter what our nervous system is. It comes in like a comet when it feels really good and when it feels really bad. The sensation of it is the same. And so it trips my system. And it is a knee-jerk reaction, or it is just like, it is such a closed pathway that I have done this forever, and I'm so hyper-identified with this pathway and with this behavior as myself that I just keep doing it. And the tricky thing is, when we're in community with each other, we also have these social pressures of trying to show up like we have it all together. And it's like last night, I could really feel like I have to, and I feel like I try to stand on this all the time, but my first instinct when I feel I'm in this position, I'm trying to share these practices, but I can't even lie like I'm able to do this practice because I'm really struggling. A big part of me wants to not say that. I always will say it though, and risk that, to risk that thing of looking like I don't know what I'm talking about. And it's like, if we don't do that, we're all over here pretending. We all have to go through this vulnerability place of, this is really, really where I'm stuck, so that we can begin to face it and let that way that it's routed come up and move in a different direction. If we're not going to articulate that, and if we're not going to say that, and we're not going to say that socially, publicly, we are pretending. And we are living by this false identity of, I am deficient or I am amazing. If I wouldn't have said it last night, I would be trying to stand in this pride of something that is not foundationally true every day. And so we have to be able to come to these places and really see what is happening in the mechanics and what identity about myself am I really hanging on to. I know I'm throwing a lot in here with this class today, but if you go back and you listen to this and you slow this down and you slow down your reactivity, you will change this. It will change, and it will change your entire life because you're going to start to have more choice. And it is intense. So watch what happens when you bring your arms up over your head and you're stretching back, pushing your feet into the floor. You can take your hands and you can open and close your hands, and you can do the same thing with your feet, and you can turn your head side to side. We're making room for that comet. We're making room for that comet and for the mechanics of where I have gone in my brain with that comet. Second participant who shared that's moving more into the direction of collapse and giving up and sleepy. What is the support that you're aware of?
Oh, the quality support was tender.
Right. That's beautiful. So tender. And what's happening to the sensations of collapse and giving up and sleepy?
Um, can you ask that in a different way?
Mm-hmm. When you feel like, so one of the things I want to be able to be aware of for your system is, where did you go when you feel lost? And you had some experience of collapse, giving up, feeling sleepy. But I want to see if you can sense, which direction do you go when you feel lost? Or is it lost inside yourself? Do you go deep inside yourself and collapse inside? Where do you go?
Well, in that instance, it was like I'm feeling lost about what's going on or what's happening. So I'm feeling like embarrassed and shame.
Okay.
And I guess I try to I was thinking about this. I guess it's like I try to just, I think that collapse is like, let's ignore it till it goes away.
Right. Because it will, because eventually the somatics will settle, reorganize themselves, and then bring you back in. But there's a big difference between I'm lost, like I am not here, versus there's a lot of information happening here and it's going to take me some time. I'm lost versus there's a lot of information happening here and it's going to take me some time.
Yeah, that one, I just felt that one hit in me.
How is it different? Because this is really important. The identification with I'm lost versus the other.
Especially with the learning.
Right.
That one, yeah, because a lot of times that extreme collapse comes with like trying to learn something.
Right. Because anytime I'm learning something new, there's going to be an aliveness. So like there's an aliveness that's going to be reshaping me because I'm learning something. So the aliveness, the somatic aliveness connected to that is an intense, chaotic experience. It's alive. And it comes in, and because across the board somatically, it is alive, it trips your nervous system. It doesn't matter the content, it doesn't matter what it is. Somatics are somatic. So as soon as you get any level of that, and what happens is the more intensity that I have lived with, the more unsafe I have felt, the lower your capacity to be with aliveness. So it's like walking through landmines throughout your day. You can be really stuck in this because everything that feels good, like I could be out walking my dog and it's a beautiful day and my neighbors are coming and I can feel that connection and it's amazing. And then when I go to take that in, it trips my system out. Can you see what I'm saying? Like it really is connected to the somatic intensity of how much is getting ready to change. And if I can just recognize, I'm going to go a little slower so that my nervous system has time to change. If I understand the mechanics of the somatics, I don't identify with this whole thing of I'm lost. Because you are not lost. Your system is taking its time to really be sure that everything that it's taking in is safe. Notice the difference between seeing it and experiencing it this way from the perspective of the nervous system. What stands out for you?
I mean, I can remember several instances where I was trying to learn something and that became an unsafe experience. And so like that collapse was the only option in the moment.
The collapse is how you were wired. The collapse is how you were wired, and that's connected to other things that have happened in your life
Mm-hmm.
that are there, and all of it's there as an unconscious measure to keep you safe.
Right.
But what happens is, if we can begin to heal and make this more whole by becoming conscious of, this is my intensity, this is how I'm wired, I'm going to slow it down because I do want to learn this. This is safe. It feels intense to learn new things, and it's scary and overwhelming to learn new things and to trust that. And I'm making room for that, and I'm going to do a rest practice after each time to give my brain the time to build this capacity, to build being able to take this in and that I'm safe. So I want to come back to this, I'm lost, or I'm disconnected. I want to come back to that again and notice, what are you feeling now as we're able to put the mechanics in place and you can see it. How does your brain see it now?
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure in this moment.
It's like when I hear the I'm lost about this specific thing, it almost feels like it's not quite the right word.
So
Imagine.
notice, yep. So this is your system like showing you. So notice what it is. And we're going to take time with this because it's the biggest lie. And for the other participant that's going in the other direction, it's not going to be a word of lost. It's going to be something connected to how you feel unsafe or how you're judging yourself. So notice the word that you're experiencing, the big way that you're identifying with yourself that takes you in that other direction. Notice what yours is too. And participant who's talking about the lost, take a moment to notice what is the correct word.
I feel like I'm feeling this pressure to find the word, and that's stirring me up, and then I'm wanting to go into that collapse.
We're just going to sit here. It's totally fine, right?
I can't even think anymore.
I can't even think anymore. So watch what happens. Like, write that down. I can't even think anymore. There's pressure to get the right word. This awareness and this aliveness, so like this Polaroid that's developing, is something that you are receiving. It's not something that you have to come up from your brain. It's a different system. And your brain thinks it has to come up with the answer when it's something that we just are being invited to take time to receive. But what is so good about this exercise is that it's showing you these are the cul-de-sacs that I live in. This is the pathway I take. I take this one where I feel pressure and I can't get it right. And the more I can't get it right, then I'm recognizing I'm not getting it right, and I feel more pressure. And it's like I keep looping in this little cul-de-sac where the pressure it keeps increasing. And then my other cul-de-sac is I went into collapse. I wanted to give up. I got sleepy. I don't feel connected to the, I just am not going to connect to the thing. Most likely, you would go to this first one because this is how your nervous system is presenting this, right? I go to the first one, but if I don't give up and I try to stay with it, then I'm going to go into the second cul-de-sac where the pressure keeps building and I keep trying to get there, but I can't get there. And it's like starting to get a little bit more frantic. Two different pathways with this. This is the pathway that you're in right now. This is your not giving up pathway and how it looks. Notice how familiar this is because this is how it has been. Can you see how you have felt that way?
Yeah, I'm like, this is hard and I don't want to do it anymore.
Right, this is how I don't want to do it. Now here's the thing somatically, just like when we had our class, right? As you feel the pressure building, that's where the thing is actually changing. So we're feeling that pressure consolidating. Do you still feel nauseous in your stomach?
A little bit.
What else do you notice other than I'm getting ready to run out of here? This is hard. And notice this is hard where specifically in your emotional sensory core. This is hard where. That's where the aliveness is doing this. It's starting to move. Where is it hard? Is it hard in your limbs, around your heart, around your gut, your throat, your brain? Where do you feel it?
My brain.
In your brain. So it's beginning to change the pathway. It has to come alive and it has to jostle some things up in order for the pathway to go in a different direction. It has to make a new wall. It's like burrowing a new wall. It's like, okay, we're not going this way, we're going to go this other way. So watch what happens when we come back to the mechanics of the somatics. We're coming out of the story, out of the behavior, out of how I'm very familiar with this. And we're going to watch and see what happens when I follow the sensation of it. And I'm protecting the intensity of that sensation. What feels hard? I'm protecting it and I'm making room for it. Watch where it starts to travel as it's moving through. What happens in yourself as you're able to be with it? And give it 3 minutes. This does not need an answer immediately. Like just watch what it does because it's working. Go back to your quality of support. Go back to that tenderness. We're offering tenderness to where it feels really hard and you want to quit.
this one's really hard for me to stay with and like keep
Yeah.
that.
Say it again. It's really hard for you to stay with what?
It's really hard for me to stay with this one and like keep my attention focused on it.
Right.
Like,
Because it, yeah,
and like I can feel my body want to like move into like dissociation a little bit.
right. So press into the chair, move your arms and your limbs. The thing that is very good about this is the same way, like when we did the exercise with the running. You have this big power coming in and everything wants to take you to the left. And we're going straight ahead. It's not familiar. And the system is like, it's mechanical. So it keeps making you feel a specific way, but these mechanics are shifting because we have been sitting with this for 45 minutes and you have a lot of detail about collapse. Even though it's hard and your system is wanting to give up and it's wanting to stop, that's because it's how it's routed, but you have way more detail about two very specific cul-de-sacs that happen when you want to go into collapse. And what we're doing is we're being tender with it. So we can trust that the divine is giving you the specific medicine, the relational medicine that allows this to feel safe. I can feel maybe my brain is kind of expanded and it's out there, and I can place my hands on that and offer that tenderness. So do this with me. You're offering that tenderness. And I'm letting my brain feel, probably for the first time in your life, that when you're expanded out in all of these different directions, that you are also get to experience tenderness. It's radical. And when those two experiences are held together, that's what allows the rerouting to occur. It's going to take you somewhere that you've not been before. I'm not leaving you, and this does not take a crazy amount of time. I'm not leaving you because it's going to shift. As soon as it's able to also register the tenderness right alongside it.
Every time that tenderness word comes up, like I feel the urge, like I almost want to start to cry, but then I'm like,
No,
don't do it.
That's the emotion. Put it on mute and cry. You don't have to cry in with us. Put it on mute. Let that emotion come up because it's the emotion that is the true power. The emotion has the heat, guys. That is the vasodilating power. It vasodilates. It's hot. It comes in like a surge, and that is opening a big pathway space for this to come in. Do you guys see? The emotion comes in like a surge through the body that is a big vasodilation that makes room for the new pathway. It welcomes the new pathway. It's also connected to the heart's truth. The truth of who you are is coming up alive in that emotion. These are the mechanics of the somatics. It is 1, 2, 3. It will always do this. And we are taught to be ashamed of the emotion. It is the biggest lie. The power of the biochemistry of that emotion and the physiological change that occurs when we let it be there and when we let this happen, it is the component that we need to bring this home. Feel the intensity of it move through your system and welcome home the aliveness that's been stuck in these pathways of collapse and giving up, and this is too hard and there's too much pressure. All of that gets to come into and be met by the tenderness and whatever it is, this emotion that's coming up. You can count on this in your system, you guys. You can count on this. The things that make this not work is that we don't sit here and say, I'm not leaving. until my physiology can go through these stages. I'm not leaving.
I feel like that's like so much what my system wants right now, is to just like be small and be in a corner and nobody can see me or hear me, and like then it'll just go away.
Mm-hmm. What is
I'm
the emotion?
so
What was the emotion that comes up with the tenderness?
like I was feeling the tenderness like in my heart area, and it was making me want to like cry, but then also like, and then I was in my head like, why do I want to give myself tenderness?
Poor brain, right? It's like our poor brains.
You
And
didn't earn that.
right, right, because that's
You don't
the
that.
that's how this got constructed. Okay, that's how this pathway got constructed, because there was not tenderness in moments of intensity. So we're going to do something radical, you guys. Okay, we're going to hold whatever the thing is, and we're going to lay down, and we're going to do a 10-minute rest practice. You don't have to manage this. You don't have to do anything. You have to make room and time to not interrupt how the physiology is trying to move this. So we're going to keep the mics off. We're going to lay down and do a 10-minute practice. Don't touch it. Just don't touch it trying to make it not there. Tenderly hold it. In honor of this pathway and what it's been like to be stuck in this way, you're offering what that's been like, a place to rest for 10 minutes. We're going to give it just 10 minutes, but watch what unfolds when you're able to do this. Okay, I'm going to lay down, I'm going to set my timer, and we're going to do this, and then we're going to regroup. And let's go ahead and do that now. I'm going to turn the camera off, but I'm still here. You guys can still hear me. So find your way into a position that is really tender and caring for this part of yourself. And when you lay down on the floor or wherever, when you lay down on the floor, you want to feel your whole body. My whole body is held here. There's room for this tenderness to really, really hold me. Feel the connection of your head to the pillow. Place your hands on your head. We're slowing everything down. We're slowing it down. We're slowing it down. Keep returning to the quality of support. Keep returning to the quality of support. Feel how your body is connected, your whole body. And you want to take a moment now to notice What parts of yourself were able to settle? And what parts of yourself might still feel like they're still actively changing or still actively going, holding that intensity, still hovering. Take a moment and notice. Let's come back and close this up because we're going to be meeting today for our retreat. But let's come back and talk about this. The mechanics of this, you guys, the mechanics of this, you can count on these things. You can count on, it's going to take a little bit at first for us to see the pathway that I move in. Today we just did the brain. As we go through this next week, we're going to go through how we speak about it. We're going to go through the impulse to behave. We're going to go through the rest. But today we just did arriving with the brain and the somatics of the brain. It's going to take a little while. It's kind of sluggish because we're not used to like going inside the pathway and really looking at it. We're used to identifying with, I am this pathway. I am this left turn. And I will always be this left turn. And so there's a lot of aliveness that keeps us cycling in these. This was really good for the participant who's connected to the collapse to see the two distinctive pathways. The one that is evoked just when the first intensity shows up, and the one that's evoked when I try not to give up and I try to stay with it, how it loops. Letting both of those rest is the most radical response. It's like, I'm going to let this come up. I feel the emotions that are coming up with it. I don't deserve to receive tenderness because that's part of how the construct began, but it's also what begins to change it. So even as soon as you name it and as soon as you realize that, your nervous system is still at work, changing and reorganizing this pathway. It's already different just because we actually showed up and named it and identified it and drew it out and then offered it the most radical thing, which is tender rest. There's nothing more powerful than that, because then the physiology can begin to move in a different way because the physiology feels safe, even though a lot of these things are still reconfiguring. What do you guys notice? What do you guys notice right now compared to when we began this morning around the reaction that you take when you are faced with something that is intense? We're talking about the somatic mechanics of my reaction. What did this class reveal to you for yourself? Let's talk about that, wrap it up, and then move into our day. I can see, I'll share mine first. My reaction is I can see the direction I'm invited to go, and I understand the behaviors of discipline and obedience and those things that are required in order for me to get there, the things I've had to do. The things that I have been missing is to slow down first and receive the experience of emotionally and on the sensory level what it feels like before I take this action. I wasn't coming supported first. So as I would see something come up or as something comes up in my life, I move into reaction versus stopping and connecting with, number one, my support that the divine is giving me, but number two, what I'm actually feeling, especially if there's multiple things I'm feeling. I just try to like turn the volume up on the discipline and the obedience, and that is limiting the whole point of the experience, which is to come back and let the thing that feels unheld be held, the thing that feels unnamed be named. I'm trying to push through it. So this morning's practice really shows me, I have this, it's almost like I get these blinders on and I go in this direction full force without pausing first to put the sensation first, the sensation to be met by the divine. That's my first step. And I have very few pathways in my brain that is my true first step. As soon as the volume gets turned up, I'm into this other pathway in which I've done it. So for me, it's very helpful to have this class this morning and see what my brain is really doing and to call that out so that I can begin to offer and help to co-construct a new pathway. That is me first recognizing and receiving what's happening. What did you guys learn with this morning's practice? Let's take a moment and share it.
That not staying with it and backing down is just going to make it stronger.
Yeah. Not staying with it and backing down makes it stronger. And what did it feel like to have the rest piece, even though it was just a short little 10-minute rest?
It feels like a little piece of it is carved out, but like I feel like it'd be one of those things that we're like peeling back one layer and then all of a sudden you find all these other layers to it. Like
Right.
there's yeah.
It's the rest of our life, really, you know, so it's like we're going to be dancing with this the rest of our life. I'm going to be responding to this the rest of my life, because as I come to things that are increasingly requiring more capacity, which my life will, because as we grow, we have more capacity. It's going to want to do this, but just like how you have been in the practices and you come to these ebbs and flows of, oh, here comes a big intensity, and in that moment I get to choose something else. My wiring is going to be familiar with this pathway, but I'm going to actually be able to catch that and feel that way sooner, and to be able to notice what is the divine giving me for this wiring, for this way that I've done it. And so that little piece that you've carved out, your brain thinks, well, that can't be big enough to actually be effective in allowing me to remain present. And yet you did quite a bit, because what can happen with the collapsy stuff is that everything just goes blank and you don't get a lot of information. And today you got a lot of information to really understand what the strain of your nervous system has been through. And you got to relate to it with tenderness. It might be the first time that your nervous system in each of these stages was able to have room, time and space to slow down, acknowledgement that it's there, and an experience of tenderness. Notice what it's like to just be able to slow it down like that. What do you feel as I even just talk about it like that?
I can feel like my brain starts to slow down, and then like the stories in the background start to fade.
And I can even, like, you know, stories in the background, the back of my head, the top of my head, I can place my hands on those areas and offer tenderness to those too, because those are connected to the road that I have walked. It's not like I want that stuff to go away. I want those experiences to come into this tenderness. I don't want to leave any part of how I have done this out anywhere. I want it to come home and be able to rest in this tenderness. You guys are coming to today's retreat, and I just want to make sure that you guys eat. You guys have to eat. This was an intense class today. This is a lot when we're doing this work in our brain. So make sure that you have enough hydration, and make sure that you are eating dense foods. So an example would be, like, we have Bagel Bakery over here. You can go there. They have egg salad that's pre-made. They have chicken salad that's pre-made. They have tuna salad that's pre-made. It's like $5 for the container of it. You can go in and ask them and they'll give you a container of it. You can get rice cakes, you can get chips, you can get rolls, different things, or a bagel to go with it. You have to eat, and also something that has a little sugar. So like one of the things I will use is like chocolate covered peanuts or things like that. Some dense food, because your system, your brain is changing those pathways and it has to build new roads for this. And so we have to, just as much as we are coming here and we're practicing and we're doing the rest practices, we're offering all these things, we have to offer food and we have to offer hydration so the body can do what it's trying to do. Whatever it is that you are craving, trust that and get that and eat that. And if you're not craving anything, then go and get hard-boiled eggs or something like this from Bagel Bakery, something that you have, because if you don't eat, then you're really going to kind of collapse out and you're going to think, I'm not strong enough to do this work. It's just that we're not feeding the body enough to do it, okay? So just really make sure, because you guys are coming today and it's going to be like a double shot. This was not a walk through the pansies this morning. This was an intense class. So how about our other participant? What are you feeling now after you've gone through being with it, the rest practices, all of that?
I'm needing to rest longer and I'll be able to talk about it later.
Yeah, so great. And that emotion that's coming up, that emotion is opening a new pathway, guys. When we have these big emotions, feel the temperature of it and rest into letting it move through your body. We're fine laying in a river and feeling the currents wash over us. That's super fun. When those currents start moving in our own body, our brain is like, what is going on? This is like destabilizing who I know myself to be. I got to hold this in place, you know? So it's like, we have to be able to really understand the mechanics of these somatics and what the body's doing when it's having these big emotions. The whole foundation of somatic work is that I am letting the physiology move me without identifying and putting a lot of story around what it's doing and what that means about me. When we are putting the stories and the identity, that's getting into psychology. Somatic work is sensory work. And there are very specific mechanics to how the sensory system flows. And that's what we did this morning. And it's powerful. So I wish you guys a lot of big hugs. Make sure you're resting before you come. Make sure that you're eating. Eat right now. Get up and go eat something even before you go to do a rest practice. It's going to make the rest practice faster and it's going to make it more efficient because you're going to give your body the fuel it needs to change itself. Okay. I love you guys. And for those of you on the replay, big hugs to you. If you made it through this class, this is the somatics and the mechanics of the somatics for reactivity. Probably one of the most important classes we have. I would do this one a few times. For those of you who are here live, this one is number 56 and number 36 of the victim series. I'm going to have this posted here today, but this is probably one of the most important classes that we have, because when you can really be with how this flows through your system, it's going to change quite a bit. We're going to spend this next week on the somatics of our reactivity, and we're going to go through the whole thing. Hugs to you. I will see you guys soon. I want to take a moment and thank my living Jesus Christ, who just so gently and tenderly says, let's take a look at this reactivity, and walks us through it. Thank you, God. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Holy Spirit, for the gentleness, the tenderness, the slowness of being able to come into relationship with this. I also hold space for those of you who have a different semantic for your faith tradition. If it's not a Christian semantic, I hold space for your heart to call out to your Creator, offering thanks in a way that resonates with you. I stand with you in that thanks. I love it, guys. Have a great day. Talk to you soon.